I was in Pinedale, Wyoming, out elk hunting. This was the day of October 13th. Got an early start, out hunting all over the place, and we found a lot of black bear tracks, a lot of wolf tracks, and a lot of elk tracks. But it was a full moon that night, so we were thinking they were running around a lot. So the higher we got up, the more bear tracks we ran into and wolf tracks, and there was one big old wolf track. It was huge. So we decided to come back down, and then we found this opening. And two of the guys I just met from Casper went west and I went east. And at the moment, I found this nice opening place. I set up against a tree and everything and waiting for elk. I had this starling jay. It looks like a cardinal, red cardinal bird, but it's blue with a royal top, and some of them are black top, but this was a royal blue, just squawking at me. And then all of a sudden I started hearing crashing, and I looked at my watch. It was 4:16 that afternoon. And so I'm sitting there thinking elk coming down the valley between the two hills and then the opening. And then the next thing I know, it got really quiet. And next thing I heard footsteps or crashing branches behind me. So I got up, looked behind me, which was all deadfall, and seen these two bears coming right at me. They were black in color and they were just full bore running at me. So I jumped up thinking it was black bear, jumped up, screamed as loud as I can. It didn't slow them down, it just kept on charging. So this is 40 yards away, and then at 30 yards I gave them a warning shot. Those two went around, took off towards the hillside, and I noticed there was a third one, and it was still coming full bore at me. And at that time I thought, Lord, this is real. Is this really happening? I dropped my gun down, jacked another shell in there, and it was like something tells me, be still. All I could say is, Lord, I guess I'm dead, but please guide this shell where you want it. And I pulled the trigger and I shot from the hip. It hit the bear off the side of the face when it just looked like there was a protection force, like in Psalms 91, that he's my shield. When the bullet connected with the bear, it turned right away and went about 20 yards away, 20 to 30 yards away, facing sideways towards me, staring me down. I didn't take my eyes off of it. Then it looked up towards the hill to see where the other two bears were, and at that I realized it was a grizzly. It was a mama with two cubs, which two cubs were already over 2 years old. She's training them to hunt and kill, to make them leave. They go on their own. And then I noticed when she looked back at me that she had blood off the side of her face. She looked back, waited a little bit, and then the next thing she turned her head and started walking off and ran off towards her cubs. And at that moment, I was backing out, walking away, and just keeping an eye on, and then I just took off. The horses were about 600 yards away. I made it down there by 4:30. My adrenaline, yes, I did want to run, but I didn't. I knew those bears were coming so fast, I didn't have a chance. That night when we got in, called Fish and Game, let them know there's a wounded grizzly bear out there. They asked me all kinds of questions, which that's their job. And the next morning we got an early start, went up there because none of us was going to go in the middle of the night to look for a wounded grizzly. I showed them exactly where it was. My brother-in-law came with us, and he actually got to see where it happened and stuff, and they wouldn't let us into the crime scene. But where we stood, they kept on asking me, how many feet do you think that bear was before you shot? And I kept on telling them it was 10 to 15 feet. And so they kept on questioning to see if I was going to change my story. But no, God was in this. So they took off tracking down the bear because they kept on asking me if I seen a lot of blood. Well, when we got there, I kept an eye on her. I seen the blood on her face, but there was a lot of blood on the ground when I showed them where that area was. And I didn't realize it, that when the blood, in that full circle, you could see where her prints were, where I was standing, and the blood was just spilled right in between us. And so they tracked her, they found her, she was still alive. And they came back later. They said that the good part is she's still alive, and plus when they spooked her up, she was afraid of man. So that could be a good thing, but they couldn't say if she would live or not. And it was weird. It was a scary moment, but I did make it back. I got to talked to my mom on Saturday, because this happened on a Thursday. It was her birthday. Then I come down here at the church. That's why Pastor Troy was late to his birthday party, because we were talking about it. And Fish and Game, they were talking about pepper spray, but I asked them, in my scenario, would a pepper spray work if I was just out there hiking or stuff and didn't have a gun to shoot up to scare two of those bears? And would one can actually work on 3 bears? And with the wind swirling, because they didn't see me, the bears didn't, they smelt me. They were at a full charge. And if it wasn't for those tree branches, and realizing now that that stirring jay bird was actually warning me. He was throwing little acorns and everything at me at the time. But God is wonderful. He helped me make it through this and everything else. The bear is alive still that I know of. And I just give good Lord a praise report on that, because He is a true Lord and only. Just stay fast with Him and trust in Him.